One of the most challenging and often painful things that we can experience when we don't really believe in our worthiness is what happens internally when somebody might say or do something that we take personally. It can be incredibly painful. It can bring up a lot of shame. So if you can relate to that, today's video is for you. I'm going to share a little bit about a personal experience that I had that could have gone completely wrong, and then a comment that somebody left on the post that I shared about that. So welcome. If you're new to me, I'm Peggy, and I am so glad that you're here. Make sure you subscribe and click the little bell for notifications to make sure that you get alerted anytime there's a new video. And if you've been following me for a while, thank you and welcome back. So, a couple of weeks ago or so, I shared a video on TikTok. So if you're on TikTok, follow me. I'm new there, but I'm sharing some little pieces of things there. So make sure to follow me. You can find me by my name, Peggy Oliveira, MSW, or Survivor Whisperer. That's my handle. So anyway, I shared a video after having an experience with my husband that had just happened. So first of all, I want to say that I am somebody who found a way to take almost anything personally. That no matter what my husband in particular might have said or done, that I would be able to find a way to skew it, to interpret it, to mean something in a negative way about how he felt or thought about me. I know I'm not the only one. It's something that we begin to naturally do because it's what fits with what we already believe. But on that day, I did my hair a little bit different, and it was before I got it cut. But I did my hair a little bit different, and when I came out of the bathroom, he kind of just gave me this look and said, "I like your hair." So think about that, like, right, we can, just by the way that somebody looks at us, we can think that it means something. And generally, when we don't feel good about who we are, we're going to assume that it means something bad. So that look, and then, "Oh, I like your hair." And I don't remember exactly how I said it, but I laughed and I asked him, I said, "Do you really like it, or are you just saying that so that I'll feel better because it looks so wild and crazy?" And he said, "No, I like it wild and crazy." But it really made me laugh because there was a time, and it has become a joke, because there was a time that even just that look would have made me cringe inside. I would have been filled with so much shame, thinking, "Oh my God, my hair is horrible, and he thinks I'm ugly, and I need to go change it." And my mind would have gone off 100 different ways. None of it good. And I was able to laugh about it. We were able to laugh about it because we've had so many conversations over the years, and it was a really big thing for a very long time. And so I did a video on it, just kind of sharing that, how we can read into things that are not at all there. It's not at all objectively what is really happening. But because of what we believe about who we are, because of what we expect for ourselves from other people, instantly we make meaning about that experience. And then in the comments, because I talked about how we can read into things and we end up feeling hurt, shame, and all of that. In the comments, somebody shared how in an earlier video I did where I shared a new journal that I've created, that she took something that I said, where I talked about being on vacation and feeling like I kind of had this mental freedom, like this space to create. And that wasn't a bad thing. Like there was nothing negative about any of that. But in her mind, because of her own beliefs, because of her fears, her expectations, what she heard me say in that moment, she's a member of the community, what she heard me say in that moment was that my client work, my work, stifles my creativity. And obviously that's a bad thing, and I probably don't like my work, I probably don't like my clients, that it's bad. And in that moment, and I don't know exactly how she felt in that moment, but that is actually not an uncommon way to respond. Now, the exact thing that you say to yourself, what you're left with in that moment might be different. But in that moment when you hear something, how we can interpret it, right? So when I said, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but that video is on TikTok. It's actually on my Facebook page as well. But when I was talking about how I was supposed to be on vacation, and my first day kind of on vacation, I created this journal. Actually, this journal right here. I'll talk about it again another time. But that I was able to create this, that I felt this freedom and all of that. So because of expectations, because of fears, because of difficulty trusting and all of that, that's the way that she interpreted that. And of course, not only did that feel hurtful, but it also then feels shameful. And there are a lot of reasons for that. So as you, particularly in relationships where you feel vulnerable, so it could be with somebody in a position of authority or power, it could be a partner, certainly a therapist, it could be a family member, somebody that you're just getting to kind of know and feel like maybe this could be a great new friend or something like that. But the more vulnerable you feel, the more that's going to happen and the more hurtful it's going to feel, because you're going to jump to those worst case scenarios. Because for those of us who do not trust in our worthiness and have been betrayed and felt abandoned and betrayed, when you're vulnerable, you are going to feel that even more intensely. So it's important to recognize, first of all, if you notice feeling hurt about something, if you notice shame coming up after an interaction with somebody, first, noticing that, which isn't always easy, but noticing this feeling, that's probably what you'll notice first. You'll notice this kind of intense reaction, almost like this tsunami of feeling, and it might be energetic feeling. You may not know what specific feeling is there, but you're going to feel kind of this rush of intensity. If you notice that happening, even if you don't know what the feeling is, and sometimes depending on how you react and respond to this kind of stuff, it may be that you notice shame, it may be that you notice the desire to pull back and shut down, it may be that you notice the sense of anger or rage. But noticing that this intense feeling is there, whatever it is, just that there's a feeling there that feels intense. Take a breath, slow down, and then ask yourself, what does this mean to me? So with the example of my husband commenting about my hair, if I would have felt something that didn't feel good, I might have been able to then ask myself, what am I taking from what he said? What do I think he meant by what he said? And again, in that example, I would have said at some point, he doesn't like my hair and he's just saying that to be nice. And my hair is horrible and I should go change it. And honestly, there was a time that not only would I have said that to myself, but I would have landed at, he thinks I'm ugly, he's going to leave me, or he's going to cheat on me, or something like that, honestly. Because my mind did go there at times for any number of reasons. But when you can ask yourself, okay, what am I taking from that? What do I think he's really saying? When you do that, you kind of give yourself an opportunity to break that momentum. So as that tsunami is coming up, when you give yourself the conscious awareness to ask yourself that question, it slows it down. Otherwise, it completely takes over and your mind spirals. So being able to ask yourself that type of question, what's really going on here? What do I think this means? What am I afraid of? That can be a really great question to ask yourself as well. And then what you notice the answer being, so again, using that example, he thinks I'm ugly and he doesn't want to be with me anymore. Then you can do some reality testing. But the more that you practice this, just recognizing that that's where your mind goes, that can actually kind of shut down that intensity of feeling. Because with practice and with doing the healing work, you recognize that that is an automatic response. That is your fear. That is your belief, ultimately what you believe about who you are, being triggered. That is shame being triggered. And when you can consciously recognize that, then you can do some reality testing around it. You can ask clarifying questions. And the more you practice that, because it takes practice, the more you practice that, the less you need to do as time goes on to calm your nervous system. Because when that happens, that tsunami of feeling is your nervous system being activated. And then it's like in the fight or flight, right? It's in the however you're going to respond to that, but it's in that really intense survival mode. So when you can halt that, you can calm yourself. The more you practice having that heightened state and calming yourself, the easier and more natural it becomes over time. And I've talked about that process in many other videos. So in the example of the person who wrote that comment about taking it to mean that my client work or my work stifles my creativity. So again, that's not an uncommon sort of thing, because there's attachment, right? If somebody, and this is true if you have a therapist, right? You view that person as somebody that you've shared things with, somebody that has the power to hurt you. And you may not consciously sit around thinking about that, but that is the natural, inherent aspect or experience in this type of work. And so even as, just somebody doing these videos, if you have felt that I get it, if you have felt that I am on your side, that I don't judge you, and suddenly you're thinking that I don't really want to do this and I'm bothered by it, there's a good chance you might take that personally. If you participated in any of my groups, which means that we would have kind of a more personal type of relationship, a more vulnerable type of relationship, then you're going to feel that even more. So in that example, recognizing again that tsunami of intensity, recognizing, okay, this means there's something going on. This means that I'm interpreting this to mean something that maybe it doesn't. Because it most likely, no matter what the situation is, there's a very, very high likelihood that that is not actually what it means. Not at all. But when you're in that place, you cannot find your way through to being objective. And that's true for everybody. Everybody. And when I talk about all of this being a process and a practice, that is part of what I am talking about. You have to keep practicing. You have to keep noticing and practicing over time. The reason that I didn't take what my husband said in a bad way, and we were able to joke about what would have happened before, is because at this point I've had 20-something years of practice. So not even for a second did I take it personally. And me even saying that to him wasn't clarifying. I wasn't concerned that that's what he meant. And that's because of the practice. Because even if he didn't like my hair on that day, even if he was kind of like being sarcastic when he said, "Oh, I like your hair," and that isn't how he said it, but that's how I could have heard it. Even if he didn't like it that day, because of the work that I've been able to do, I wouldn't be hurt that he didn't like it. I would have been able to just think like, okay, well, there have been other times that he says that he does like it, and my hair does not define me, and so I would have been able to think about a lot of other things. But it takes practice. So I hope you found this helpful in being able to recognize your own experiences, times that maybe that's happened with you. And again, it's more likely to happen in relationships where you feel vulnerable. So the more open you are, the more possibility that person has to hurt you. And I don't mean that they will hurt you. I mean that the closer that you feel to them, the more you rely on them, the more that you care about them, the more ability they have to hurt you. So I hope that you're able to even reflect back on other situations where maybe that's been the case and replay it from this different lens. And then certainly as you go forward, being able to recognize what's happening in those moments. So thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up so other people can find it too. And again, if you haven't yet subscribed, please make sure to do so. So you'll get notifications of new videos, so click the little bell as well. Thanks for watching. Have a beautiful day.